All right, hello friends. Hopefully there isn't any like weird lighting. Hold on. I am sitting next to my Christmas tree. Like you can see it a little bit here, and I have the Christmas okay. I have the Christmas lights on the tree to give me some more light because this little corner that I'm sitting in is very cramped. I have finally found a way to like record with a little bit of books behind me because I do have one bookcase that is in my living room. But anyways, that's not what this is about. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks I can get the tree put away because it's like storming and raining like crazy out here in California. And my tree box is on my porch. Half of it is not doing so good. I really hope it's not ruined. So it's gonna be a minute still before I can have a comfortable space to film in, but I at least found like a space to film in where I feel a little bit better. So anyways, today we're gonna talk about like fresh restarts and just I guess kind of like going forward, like how I want the channel to be and everything, and how like I would really like for the channel to be like a really important like focus. When I first initially started the channel like 6 years ago, I was able to focus on it and everything, and then COVID hit and all of that stuff, and then from there it's just been like really hard to try, and I've just been having like worse and worse years, and 2025 was absolute garbage year for me. And I lost so much time to be able to film videos as well as to just even read. And so I actually pretty much did not track anything in relation to my reading. I had goals, I had things I wanted to do, didn't do any of them. And it's just because I had such a garbage year. We lost our home, and like we were forced out of it. The landlord sold it, and the people he sold it to wanted to live in it. And while I did technically have a lease until end of January of this year, they added some stuff into the newer lease that would have caused me to get evicted because I wouldn't have been able to like follow through with it. It was just a really shady, gross practice that their realtor did to force me out. And it set us back a lot. We now live in a one bedroom apartment, me and my daughter. It's tight, it's small, but it's whatever. We're here, we're making it work, we're doing what we can. And I started my job back in May of last year, like a month before the landlord did all of this, mind you. And I love the job that I have right now. It's amazing. I don't hate going to work every day, so that's good. But I also just haven't like gotten us out of the financial hole that moving causes, because it does. That's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about when it comes to having to move, is that it creates a financial hole. Uh, so yeah, we're still trying to get ourselves picked back up, but right now we are getting by. But with all that said, like I said, I wasn't tracking my books. I wasn't tracking how much I was reading. There was months where I didn't read anything at all. I do think like October was like my most read month. I don't remember how many were in there because I really don't feel like going into the numbers for all of that. The only numbers that I am providing from last year is that I read a rough estimate of around 85 books. There's possibly some in there that I just that I don't remember reading. There's at least 85 that I can account for. I did DNF 5 of those, so that's not too bad. But I did have like an average rating of 3 stars, so I wasn't being blown away by a ton of books. But also I do maybe sometimes think that my situation mentally was affecting my response to a lot of books. So we'll see, I did have an average, like the page count totals around 21,000 pages, which isn't so bad. And then, so that's like about an average of 247 pages per book. So that's not bad, and considering there was like a good chunk where like 30 of the books I read were all middle grade, that's not bad, especially since I'm trying to read through all the middle grade that I own so that I can unhaul the ones that I don't want, because going forward, I'm not purchasing middle grade books anymore. I'm only going to be reading them through the library, and then if I absolutely fall in love with one that I know I can see myself reading again, then I will purchase it, but I'm no longer just randomly purchasing them. And that's just because like middle grade books are so cheap. Okay. Most of my middle grade collection I was able to buy for like $1, $2 kind of thing. And so I accumulated a lot of them. Now I have gotten rid of about 30 of them because I read them. I was like, yep, I read it. I liked it. I'm not going to read it again. And I actually gave them to my coworker for her daughters. She's got a couple of kids. And so I was like, would you guys like some free books? And she was like, we would love some free books. And I was like, I have some free books. So that worked great. But yeah, that's still a goal for me. I think I have about 30 more of them to get through. So that's a big goal for this year, is to get through the rest of those middle grades so that I can get those moved out of the collection. Now, as for like beginning stats, I'm going to go ahead and say now I don't care about how many books I read this year. Like, I'm done with goals of like, I'm going to read 50, I'm going to read 100, I'm going to read 75. Like, I'm not doing that anymore, because I have learned that over the past like 3, maybe 4 years that I have attached a number goal, my reading has suffered a lot. Whereas when I first got back into reading and I was doing all of the Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that, and like being part of the community, when I had no goals, I was reading like crazy. And so I'm going back to that. I would like to track like more so how many pages I read at the end of the year. So I still have my spreadsheet where I'm going to be keeping track of what I read. That way I at least know what I've read, but I'm not caring about the number of how many of them I read, and I'm not putting a goal up for that. And on top of that, I'm no longer tracking with my tracker. I used to track the day that I start the book to the day that I finish the book. I'm no longer doing that, because with that tracking, it would also tell me how many days it took me to get through a book. And I have learned that that is super detrimental to my mental health when it comes to reading. Because there would be some books where it's like, oh, it's taken you 72 days to get through this 300-page book. And it's just because like I would get sidetracked and I'd go back to it, and I get sidetracked and I go back to it. And I have learned that that's just not good for me. I only care about the day that I finish the book now. That is all that matters to me is, oh, I started this. I don't care if I started. There is a book. Let me tell you real quick. There is a book that me and my best friend started. It is called Surviving Scar. It is by Ruby Dixon. It is the 3rd book in the 2nd spin-off series to Ice Planet Barbarians, part of the Ice Planet Clones series. And we started it the day it came out. It has been 365 days since that book came out, and we have not finished it. So it is still sitting there, unfinished. We still remember what happened because we know why we stopped reading it, because we got really, really annoyed. So it's not like we have forgotten. We're both just like completely turned off by the direction that Ruby Dixon decided to go with certain elements in her book, and we were like, and so seeing that number, if we even finish it this year, like we're both kind of like, are we going to finish it this year? Is this going to be the year where we finally just suck it up and finish this book? Like seeing that number be 300 something page days, that's detrimental. No, thank you. We're not doing that. So I'm no longer doing that. I'm no longer counting how many days it took me to finish a book. I am just keeping track of the day that I finish it. And I think that'll be better. And I think a lot of people should do that, honestly. So as for my collection, so I had not updated my collection, my spreadsheet collection, because I do catalog my collection, and it's more so that I know what's in my collection, and so that I can see how well I'm reading my collection towards not reading it. That way I can kind of hold myself accountable. And one of the things that my best friend actually wants me to start doing is to stop using the words read and unread and start using the words of good and potential to be good, or keep and potential to keep, which I might actually kind of go with that verbiage instead, like keeping versus potential to keep. And that is because when I went back through and I recatalogued my collection this past week, it took an entire week, and my read to unread percentage like super dropped. But then I realized it dropped because a lot of books that I unhauled were books that I've read that I didn't like or I don't plan on reading again. And I was like, that's why my percentage can never stay up, because I clear books out as I read them and I don't have an interest in them anymore. And she was like, well, that's why maybe we should get rid of the verbiage of read versus unread. And I'm thinking I'm going to go with the keep versus potential keep. That way it doesn't sound as like detrimental to my mental health of being like, hey, you have all these books unread. Instead, it's more like a, hey, you have a potential to keep those books or not, you know. So, but as it currently stands in the physical collection, there are over like 893 books in the collection. It's roughly around there. And including the manga, the percentage is 42% keeping and 58% potential to keep. Whereas if I remove the manga from there, because for my manga, I'm actually only behind on reading 4 volumes. And one of those I actually just got for Christmas. So I'm actually very, very up on my manga collection. I own 147 manga, and the fact that I only haven't read 4 of them is actually like really good. But removing the manga from those numbers, if it's just my novels and series and like fantasy and sci-fi and fantasy books, you know, those like the novels, the collection is actually at 30.4% I've kept, and then 69.6% that are a potential to keep, because we don't know if I'm going to like it or not. So that's still not bad. In terms of like what I want to see by the end of the year, if I could get those numbers to go up like 10%, that'd be nice. But also I have to remember that as I read stuff and I don't want them, I remove them from the spreadsheet. Thus it messes with the numbers. And I have to keep that in mind, which is why it's going to be very important for me to make sure that I track what I'm unhauling. So as for my digital collection, so I also have a digital collection because I do have a Kindle, and I actually went through my Kindle again while I was cataloging it, and I got rid of a ton more books. A lot of them were lit RPGs that I didn't know were lit RPGs when I picked them up, and I do not like lit RPGs. I don't. I have tried them 3, 4, 5 times. I do not like them. And so some of these books, they had updated titles and they attached that lit RPG thing to it. And it's probably because lit RPG is super popular right now, thanks to DCC. And so I get it. Like, they're trying to be like, hey, look, we're also a lit RPG. But that helped me weed out so many series because I was not aware that that's what they were when I picked them up. So currently my digital ratio is sitting at 10.6% that I've read. I'm going to use read and unread for this just because I don't know. I always forget my digital collection exists. And then 89.4% of it is unread. So, you know, it's just because I forget it exists. I do. I forget that I have a digital collection. You know what happens? So in total, between the two combined, I have a 30.7% read ratio to a 69.3% unread ratio, which again, if I can get that total collection number to like go up 10%, that'd be nice. It would. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. As for like my arcs, I have in total 69 of them that I am behind on. I didn't really grab a whole lot last year just because I was in such a bad place, but there have been a few arcs that the publishers like emailed me about and was like, hey, like you get free access to this one on NetGalley for 24 hours, like if you want it. And I'm like, hey, that actually sounds good. And so I did grab a few. 24 of those of that 69 are from NetGalley, and my goal is to bring those numbers down. So The good thing is that there's really not a lot on NetGalley that catches my attention anymore, and I think it's just because there's still a lot of focus on like romantasy books right now. So yeah. Now as for series, I actually will have another video coming out on the channel where we go a little bit more into depth about my series, but and about like the different like the total amount that I'm in, and the ones that are on hiatus and in progress, and ones I've DNF'd and everything. But right now, just to give you guys a small glimpse, I am currently in the middle of 137 series, and that needs to be fixed. Like I said, I have another video coming where we're going to go a little bit more into depth about my series and what is happening with all of that and what we're going to be doing. But that is where we're starting. Our starting number is 137 in progress, and if I can bring that down by 10, I will be happy. Okay. That's just, I know it's a small number, but that's okay. It's better to start small than to start with like huge and being like, I want to finish 50 of those series. I want to be realistic. I know myself. Okay. So we're going to start with a small achievable number between 5 and 10. We're going to do that actually. We're going to do between 5 and 10. Just so that I can give myself something realistic to move towards. So those are like the basics of the stats that have been going on with my reading behind the scenes. And so hopefully this year will be a much better reading year. I did, while going through my collection, I did unhaul more books. So I do have an unhaul video coming up as well. So keep an eye out for that. And then I also have a pile of books that I am calling my like read or lose it kind of thing. Like these are books that have been on the shelf for a while. So also look forward to that, where they've certain books have a timeline for how much longer they can last in the collection before they gotta go. So I do have lots of stuff planned, and I am hoping that I can keep this going. My goal is to at least be able to make sure that I post one video a week. If I do post a second video a week, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the Friday slot, because I have noticed that YouTube doesn't like to push my videos on Fridays. Tuesday does still do really well for me, and I think it's just because I've always had Tuesday for the longest time, but for whatever reason, my Friday videos never seem to do good. So I don't know if I'm going to keep trying to do Friday, or if maybe move to a Thursday or what, but at the end of the day, I want to at least make sure that I post at least one video a week. So fingers crossed that this will be the year that I get to do that. So hopefully a lot of you have stuck around, and hopefully you guys are still interested in what I'm reading, what I'm doing and everything. And you know, hopefully this year is not garbage for me personally. I don't know about the rest of America, but hopefully for me personally, this will not be a garbage year, and I'll be able to get some reading in and be good. So yeah. Also look forward to a best and worst of video, as well as a books I'm interested for 2026. So I do have quite a bit of stuff planned. So yeah, hopefully you guys like to stick around and give it a good watch. So until then, bye.